House. We're here at the Heartland Cafe. We're up here on the stage. It's the 21st of March, and I'm your host for this morning's edition of Live from the Heartland Radio. My name is Michael James, and we're glad to be back. Some of you may know we were not here last week. We broadcast from the studio because the Heartland Cafe was closed, and I have a press statement that the owners of the Heartland put out, one of which is myself. But this is a message from the Heartland written on the 19th of March 2009. This is to clarify some things out there in the world, and I hope you will take this to heart, as we have. Some of you may know health inspectors temporarily closed the Heartland Cafe Thursday, March 12th. The inspection was prompted by a 311 call from someone attributing feeling ill to tofu and vegetables eaten at the cafe. The inspection was fair, and we immediately set about to address the issues raised and some that weren't. We basically rebuilt the joint from the inside out, laid new kitchen and dish room floors, patched and mortared endless nooks and crannies of the 100-year-old building, scrubbed every single piece of equipment till it shone like new, and generally took this crisis and turned it into an opportunity. On the heels of our passing the city's reinspection, the Heartland family feels both relieved and blessed. Relieved that we are again serving good, wholesome food for the mind and body, and blessed by the generosity, spirit, and loyalty of the workforce, neighbors, and friends from all over. We want to especially praise the Heartland employees who showed up and contributed hours of hard work to get us into better condition than we've ever been. We know this results in folks feeling even more ownership of the Heartland and their role in it. Not sure if a small business could ask for more in these very challenging times for staying viable. We ask you to come and check out the refreshed and renewed Heartland with spring in the air and hope in our hearts. We recommit to doing the best we can for our business, our neighborhood, and the planet. And we say thank you. Okay, that's some information from you from the Heartland Cafe, which is the host venue of Live from the Heartland Radio. And now on with some Live from the Heartland Radio. We have an interesting lineup today. A little bit later, we're going to bring up our friend Tom Clark, the Community Media Workshop, and he's going to talk about CanTV and a vote that just took place in the City Council challenging the viability and ongoing ability of CanTV. We're going to have Chris Colgin, who is a longtime intern and member of the Heartland team, a Loyola student who's back from traveling the world, and he's going to bring up a couple of folks he's run into, Luke Hansen and Cassie Younger from Kairos, Chicago. Kairos is a Greek word meaning right or opportune moment, and it's a local group committed to nonviolence, faith, and resistance, and I think they're going to talk a little bit about keeping the pressure on President Obama to close Guantanamo Bay and to end torture. And we're going to start off with a couple of dudes who've been hanging around a lot lately. They are a group of activists in the community. I have Jim Ginderske and Francis Scudellari, and Francis is the editor of the new paper, and James is the publisher of the new paper called The Urban Coaster, and some of you may have seen it because it's been showing up all over Rogers Park and beyond. Good morning to you, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Morning, Michael.
It's an honor and a pleasure to have you up here. You're some hardworking community activists moving around town, and I think the first thing I'd like to ask you about is what possessed you in these times of cutbacks in print media and closing of newspapers throughout the country to put forth such a noble effort to inform the masses about what's going on in the community.
Well, you know, we did a large project about 9 months ago, and one of the things that we were trying to do with it was increase youth services in the neighborhood. And, you know, we were trying to get a Boys and Girls Club into the neighborhood, and we found that there was some controversy around some aspects of the project, and we found that we were unable to get really kind of a fair hearing from the media. One of the few places we did get a fair hearing, of course, was here. You know, you all here at the Heartland had kind of both sides on the radio, gave everybody a chance to air their views. Most media, in fact, all other media did not. So, you know, we thought that this is something the neighborhood could really use, and we're excited about it.
You know, how did you pick this name, the Urban Coaster?
Well, it's actually interesting because it happened right here at the Heartland. We'd been throwing around a few names for a while, and one of your employees, John Weidler, was with us in the Buffalo Bar,
Bartender.
and we just started having a brainstorming session, and John is a poet and a wordsmith, and we threw out some names. The fact that we were playing on the fact that Rogers Park and Edgewater are on the lakefront, so in a sense it's a coast, and we're in the city, so we have kind of the combination of coast and urban area, so it is the urban coaster. Plus, it's a play on words. The fact that it took place in the Buffalo Bar, a coaster is something you put your beer on, as in a beer mat. And it's also, roller coaster, up and down, exciting. And it's also kind of got a slacker attitude to it with being coaster. So it had all those kind of meanings thrown into.
Well, that's a good one.
Yeah,
I should have asked before I even asked the question. I should have quoted Edgar Lee Masters, a famed poet and lawyer from downstate Illinois in the old days, from Spoon River Anthology, where he says, "What's it mean, anyhow?"
Well,
Okay.
John's also a bartender. We find that much of the best wisdom comes from bartenders. So
It can,
That's
but
right.
you've got to be careful.
yes,
All right, how long have you been putting the Urban Coaster out?
since November,
the end of November, yeah.
4 months now.
4 months. And how often does it come out?
Every other week. We started every week, and we actually saw our hair begin to fall out, excuse me, and begin to turn gray. So we
Just so you all know, in case you're listening and not seeing this on YouTube, he does have a lot of hair.
well, but it was falling out progressively because it was a whole lot of work, and we're new at this. We haven't done it before, so it was kind of a learning curve. It was a great way to start, but
We've settled on every other week, and I think that's where we're going to stay for a while.
What kind of a press run are you doing these days with this paper?
We do 6,000 every issue.
Well, it seems that newspapers, like existing newspapers, are moving toward the internet, and you chose not to just put out an internet paper when some people are starting those kind of things, but to do not only a hard copy, a print version, and as well as the internet. So how do you do it? How do you get the information that you assemble and produce and put together out to the people? What are the various ways that you're doing that?
Well, we drop the paper off, at various locations in the neighborhood, a couple hundred right now. We also hand out, and it's been very successful, about 2,500 copies at the train stations, at the L and the Metro stations, and the reception there has been surprisingly great. Our only real competition there is the Red Eye, which a fifth grader can probably read in about 2 minutes. No offense to fifth graders, people they have a long train ride ahead of them, so it's a great opportunity for them to learn about their community while they're on their way to work.
Do you have any good stories about people who have received the paper and then see you out there again and say something to you?
Oh, I've had a number of people come up and say, "Oh, I'm glad you're here again. I read the thing cover to cover the last time." I've had people send emails to the editor at address saying, "This is great that you're doing this, that you're handing it out." People in this neighborhood, the way they get information is a little different than a lot of other places. There's a lot of mouth-to-mouth, through the grapevine, talking to each other. It's a real networked community in the sense that people just spread information through each other. I mean, they are getting information on the web, but I think Rogers Park, which is a very active and committed neighborhood, I think people interact with each other a lot, and they get information from each other. So, anything that happens in the neighborhood, people are talking about it right away, and they're glad to get information in their hand that they can then pass along to others.
Well, it's good you talk about getting information around, because there certainly is some spurious and incorrect information that gets passed around. Have you taken any hits from anybody, any criticisms, anyone saying, "I don't want that paper," or "What's that?" I know it's kind of it's like a honeymoon, so to speak. You got a new paper, you're still out there, you're excited with it, you actually are covering a lot of things. Have you had any negative responses?
Well, occasionally we'll have somebody, say, "Oh, I don't want that." A lot of times, frankly, it's confusion. They think that it's something else. They think it's a political organization handing out a newspaper, which we're absolutely not. Or they think that it's the Red Eye, and when we tell them no, it's not the Red Eye, then they say, "Oh, yeah, I'll take that." We have had some folks who have had kind of a free reign with media coverage, haven't always adhered to the strictest editorial standards, feel a little bit threatened by a more impartial. I think there's always bias in the media, but we try to be as impartial as we can with editorial standards. And some of these folks have been a little nervous by that, and that's how it is.